From the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, D.W. Burnett.
Well, here we are again, and this is episode number 75 of The Evidence. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D, and 75 episodes, that represents 1,200 anomalies at least, maybe more, maybe closer to 1,500, I don't know. And, no real big deal. There are tons of channels out there that have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes, but for maybe just a little bit over a year, not too bad. And what a great group you guys are. Taking the time to learn X3D. If you don't know it, it's down below in the link. Otherwise, we're going to dive in because we got a lot of stuff to look at. Everyone's been real busy this past week, including myself. So let's dive in and see what we got. 2702 is loaded with goodies, and our friend Laszlo got his piece of the pie on this one. It's down there in the right-hand corner. By the way, people sometimes complain that there are no metrics. Well, there are metrics on the analyst's notebook, but only up to missions they've processed about 6 months ago. So here's a little info real quick. Look at the source under the title. It says Curiosity Sol 2702 ML. That means the left mast cam, which means this was taken with a 34mm lens. MR means the right mast cam, which is a 100mm lens. 34mm is wide angle, which means the resulting image is closer than it appears, and things within that image are larger than they appear. Works the same way here on Earth if you're a photographer. With the 100mm camera, the perspective is flattened, so things are further away than they appear. Just thought you'd like to know. Anytime I have metrics, I'll share them with you. In the meantime, just pretend you're standing where the rover is, and you'll have a pretty good idea of how far away and how large things are from the context view. That's why I always include one. Isn't that nice? It's smooth, square on one end, has that square piece marked off, some nice right angles, and a mostly even thickness. It seems to me, though, that it might be part of the exposed sedimentary layers just beneath it, in which case it's likely a remarkable bit of erosion. But if it's sitting on top of those layers and not part of them, well, that's a different story. Then I'm inclined to think this is a structural element, like a lintel, or maybe a facing piece that goes over an entrance. What also interests me is this piece over here on the right. That's a real snazzy bit of erosion, if you ask me, and I can't help but wonder if that isn't part of something that's intelligently made. And look at that chunk just to the left of it. Kinda looks like a broken hexagon to me. It's too badly compromised to say one way or another, but with all the other hexagonal pieces we found on Mars, it does seem a bit suspicious. Here's something Terry Burnett found in Neville's GMAC using the ChemCam, Sol 2947. You can see it pretty plainly, even in the context view, so this is fairly large. So, what in the world do we have here? It's smooth and even gives a polished look as if it might be made of metal or polymer. And of course there's that old bilateral symmetry again, complete with a neatly made rim around the edge. There's a circle right in the middle in front with a spherical knob, dead center. The overall shape reminds me of an ancient oil lamp. Obviously it's too large and kind of on the wrong planet for it to be an oil lamp. If we take a step away from straight geology for a moment, it's tempting to think this might be a vehicle of some sort buried in the rocks. But let's take that step back to geology before we're drowned out by laughter from the serious scientists out there. Is it possible this is a volcanic extrusion of some kind. We see strange shapes in Hawaii's lava flows when molten rock gets pushed through openings of various sizes and shapes. Kind of like a gigantic Play-Doh factory with the heat turned up a couple thousand degrees. Is that what this is? It's impossible to tell, and NASA ain't talking. You know, Laszlo Szabolics embodies two qualities that I admire in any researcher, especially in this crazy genre. He's persistent and consistent. Here's something he found the other day that's only barely visible in the context view because it's so small. It's hiding inside the target on the upper left. Do you see that little spear-shaped item? Let me highlight it for you. So, is this actually a spear or an arrow, or is it just some chance weathering of the rock? One of the things we talked about in Anomalist 101, which I urge you to watch if you haven't already, there's a link down below. One of the things we talked about was geological context, whether something is similar to or distinctly different from the geology surrounding it. In this case, the question could be asked about both the rectangular shaft and the perfect triangle at the top of it. Are there any other formations like that in this image? I think if you examine it, you'll come to the same conclusion I did. Nope. Does that make it artificial? Again, nope. Does it make it suspect? You betcha. Especially when you start remembering some of the other arrow-shaped things we found elsewhere on Mars. This is a carved arrow found by Dean Sattler that seems to be pointing at a perfect semicircle. And here's what looked like an arrowhead turned up by Stephen Claridge. Or how about what looks like a worked and drilled flint I found in an Oppie Pancam? The point is, are these all just flights of fancy, overheated imaginations grasping to make connections where none exist? Or is it just possible that an ancient civilization on Mars used arrows the same way we did throughout history, chipping them out of flint, casting them in bronze, whittling them out of bone, or using them as a graphic to point something out? This next one was pointed out just recently by longtime researcher James Tracy. As you can see, there are several items of interest in this context image. James' broken box is found by following the white arrow, while the dashed lines are around the other finds that we're going to take a look at in just a moment. On the left is a stark right angle, the broken box mentioned in the title. On the right is a rectangular structure with 3 spikes coming out of it. It doesn't really register well any closer than this, but it does make you wonder what it might be. Let's move in on the box instead and see what we get. This looks like it's part of the structure just behind it. Could it be part of an entrance or doorway into a building now broken and buried? We have some interesting lines present that make me doubt this is natural, but who knows? Maybe this is just the way rocks form on Mars. Moving over to the right a bit, we find this cluster of broken stones that, to my eye, look like pieces of a building. As you let your eyes play over the scene from left to right, or right to left if you're from Iowa, it's easy to see the regular shapes, flat surfaces, right angles, and other components that make each one of these pieces look suspiciously not natural. What grabbed me about this one is that rigidly perfect corner piece right there under the letter. I think this deserves a closer look. It looks like decorative carving around the top edge of the corner, to say nothing of the overall right angles that make it look like a corner piece. This reminded me of something my buddy Laszlo Szabolics found this past year. While this is more of a column shape, You can see the decorative carving along the top edge, complete with the same parallel lines we find on the previous piece. Besides this one, I was also reminded of something I came across this past year. This looked like a classical column to my eyes, and again, there's that double parallel lines, that decorative touch over there at the top. Bear in mind, this is just the stuff NASA neglected to redact, so there are likely much better examples to be found. Maybe some of them even still standing, like the ruins we have in Rome and Greece. Until they release the classified images they're holding from the various Mars missions, we'll just have to infer and speculate as best we can with what we can find. Now, this is just bizarre. That chunk of rock over there on the left seems to have a purposeful shape, even in the context view. This is nuts. The head is kind of a cross between a horse and a hippopotamus, and it even seems to have a mane and nostrils. Look at the back. At the base of the neck is a deeply engraved square with cross-hatching dividing it into 4 sections. What's that all about? Beneath the nose, it almost looks like a folded foreleg, as if this Martian pony was resting, looking back over its shoulder. And look at the right side. There's definitely a semicircular design, as well as other elements. And is that little nub on the back a tail? What kind of pony has a nub for a tail? And look on the right. Another hexagonal chunk, flat on the side facing us, as if this was the base of a statue fallen away from our line of sight. I thought I'd show this pony just to get you oriented. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that whatever this is happens to be a pony, but it's close enough to make me try to rub the pareidolia out of my eyes. Hey, thanks for stopping by today, and I really appreciate you being a part of our team here. If there's any anomalies that you'd like me to have a look at, just check out the email down below and send them on over, a link and a snapshot, please. No guarantee I'll be able to use it, but I'm always happy to look at them. And if you have any other questions, why, most of your information is down below, but drop me an email. Let me know what it's on your mind, and I'll see what I can do to take care of it. That goes for everything except Christmas lists. Ain't doing those no more. So anyway, this is your old buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.